Sorry about that, guys. I didn't mean to cut off in the middle of a sentence, but my general during his turn was able to kill the last of the carrion, so he set up, now he can charge something. So this is where the game gets interesting. Bretonnia turn 3, my Pegasus Knight still in combat with the Tomb Prince. My Knights Errant can't really get the charge on anything. It looks like they could charge his chariots, but not really. Actually, I take that back. I don't know what I was thinking. I think this was not Brett turn thing. I think this was during his turn. Anyway. Brett turn 3. Here's what I decided to do. I take my general in charge the archers on the hill. Take my Grail Knights in charge the archers in front of them. Grail Knights are going to whoop them, and they're going to overrun into the archers on the hill and get to fight again. And between the Grail Knights and my king, we're going to kill those archers on the hill and overrun, and my king's going to go into the Casket of Souls, and my Grail Knights are going to go into the Ashapti with the charge. And the problem with that thinking is, when I made all these decisions, I forgot that the Grail Knights can't overrun after that first unit and then overrun again with the second unit. So if it goes according to plan, my general is going to get a charge on the Casket of Souls, but the Grail Knights are going to be standing there and going to have to receive a charge from the Ashapti. So had I thought about that, I don't know what I would have done differently, because I do need to get into that casket, but that is not a pretty picture for the Grail Knights. So on this side, he was well out of range, so I marched forward 16 inches, and I feel like I'm finally getting to the point where his chariots aren't going to be able to escape me. He's going to have to charge me, in which case I like my odds, or I'm just going to start charging everything down his flank with those two big blocks. And I really like how my left flank is looking here. So here we're on the right-hand side. My archers shoot at his chariots again and actually put another few wounds on him. The Grail Knights destroy the first unit of archers, overrun into the second, which is what I thought would happen. Between all that fighty goodness, I just totally annihilate that unit, and you'll see a picture of that later. Over here, his prince kills off the last of my Pegasus Knight unit, and that's what it looks like. So my general gets the overrun, so I am in the casket. His Tomb Guard unit on the right is not in that combat, and it's going to be difficult for them to get into the combat because they're in the flank of that Casket of Souls unit. They're actually going to have to shift, I guess, to the left, and then they'd be able to charge in. Which doesn't seem like, it seems like they'd be able to do that, but I haven't really worked it out. And there are my Grail Knights just begging to be charged by the Ashapti. That's going to be ugly. So, Tomb King's turn 4 was kind of interesting. He, I don't know what he was thinking. I'm wondering if he wanted my Knights Errant to charge his Tomb Prince, knowing I'd kill him, but then doing a bunch of damage to them. I don't know exactly what he was thinking there, but he set it up to where I could charge the Prince, I could charge the chariots. He couldn't get his unit into that combat, so what he did is he charged his king into that combat. And not only did my Grail Knights have to take the Ashapti in the front, they had to take the spear, the skeletons in the side. So that was pretty ugly for them. And of course, not only do they get the charge on me, but they get smiting, so they get to a free attack during their magic phase. So I've lost 2 Grail Knights, and we haven't even hit the combat phase yet. And yeah, they don't destroy all the Grail Knights, but they break me in combat and pursue. The Ashapti go into the flank of my general, and the skeletons are right there. So luckily for me, my general is able to declare a challenge, so the Ashapti can't hit my general, but they do give him the outnumber instead of me, and they give him a flank bonus. So that was kind of bad. But there's a look at the board. But what happened, I still won combat. I could be confused. Maybe it was next turn. But he had a flank and an outnumber, and I did 3 wounds. And so I actually won combat with that general, which I thought was pretty sweet. There we go. That shows 2 wounds, but again, I'm pretty sure I ended up with 3. Anyway, however it was. Yeah, there's the extra wound on the Ushabti, an extra wound on his king, who's down to only 1 wound left. And I don't know what's going on with that Casket of Souls. I think the Lich Priest is still alive. I just don't remember. During his turn, by the way, the casket, I had to save all my Dispel dice just for the casket. That's why he was able to do everything he wanted during his magic phase. So Brett turn 4, what I decided to do is just to ignore the Tomb Prince and charge into the rear of that chariot unit. And his Tomb Prince would have been a lot closer to being in the way, but I guess during his magic phase he moved him closer. I'm not sure exactly what he was doing. And I was thinking I would just take my archers and shoot at that guy because he has 2 wounds left. My shots are flaming, so all I need to do is land one of them, and he should be dead. It's not that hard to hit him. The problem is he's toughness 5, I'm strength 3, so I've got to roll a 6 to wound, and so I think I'm hitting on 5s, wounding on 6s. So I got a lot of shots going at him, but that's the problem I'm facing there. So in this combat, the men-at-arms, I love those guys. Those guys have saved me so many times. They had to declare a charge into the flank of the skeletons, and they had to take a leadership test, and there was no knight nearby, so they had to do it on the leadership of the champion, which is 6, and I was able to pass it. So that's huge. It ties that skeleton unit up, and I like my odds of winning that. You can see my general's still locked in combat. I don't really mind if my general dies. I would feel so much better if I can get that Casket of Souls off the table. So again, I charge my Knights Errant into his chariots, and I was so slightly out of range. I didn't even try the charge with my Knights of the Realm. I just moved them up. I figured I actually like how it's looking over here because I can charge wherever I need to. Skeletons, Ushabti, I like my choices come my next turn. So my bowman actually did get a wound through, and being flaming against his flammable took 2 wounds off of him, so he died. They took D6 wounds, and I think they lost 5 guys, and so they failed their panic test and fled. My Knights Errant over here destroyed his chariots, and I like how they're looking. And men-at-arms doing a good job. They're just winning combat by several. So I don't expect them to demolish that skeleton unit anytime soon, but they're doing a good job of locking them up and probably slowly going to win that combat. So there we are. Tomb King's turn 5. He finally has no choice. He just charges my Knights Errant in the front. I'm hoping to make a lot of saves against those impact hits, and otherwise I really, really like my chances in that combat. During Magic, I guess at the end of my turn is when he finally killed off my general. He takes his Tomb Guard, turns him around, and is just facing my Knights Errant. So he can't get the charge on me, but he makes it a little bit more of an intimidating picture. And then the rest of his magic phase, he also heals his Tomb King back up to, I think, 1 wound instead of 3. So there's another picture of what the board looks like. Luckily, that Screaming Skull Catapult is veering off, not really hitting anything. He turns his Ushabti around to face the charge of my Knights. I think he knows he can't really do a whole lot about it. So he comes in and his impact hits. He kills 1 Knight. His spears and stuff kill another Knight, and after that I went back and did 3 wounds on him. So at this point of the game, my rolling got really lucky. So I beat him there, and now I know that combat's going to be mine. Brett turn 5, my skirmishing bowmen flee off the board. I go ahead and decide to make that charge. My guys are strength 6 with the Errantry banner. I like my odds of winning that. You can see upper left, my Knights of the Realm charge the Ushabti. They passed their fear test amazingly enough. And we're locked in combat with the chariots at the beginning of my turn. I'm hiding my fast cav because they're not doing good otherwise. Beat the chariots. Put a whooping on the Tomb Guard. Got lucky with a couple extra wounds there, which translated into a couple extra combat res, which allowed me to wipe out the unit and get a free charge into his king. So at this point, the game's done. I'm going to pop everything on that table just through combat res, because the one on the left is in combat with the casket, the ones on the right, combat with the king, his king does 4 attacks, 3 of them go through and wound on strength 7, and that's my roll for my ward saves. And this is where my opponent, I think, wanted to throw dice against the wall, because that was crazy. He dies. 2 guys die from the curse. At the end of his turn, you know, skeletons are hanging out under half strength, but his Casket of Souls is dead. The casket itself stayed there, I guess, until the beginning of his next turn, and since he doesn't have a next turn, that kept me on my turn from charging his Hierophant. But at the end of the game, he had his Hierophant, he had the catapult, and he had under half Skellies, and I had a grand total of, I think, about 1,100 points on the board. So I feel like I got my revenge. It's a shame that it turned so ugly for my opponent there at the very end, because I thought it was a good back-and-forth game other than that. But it was a good, solid win for the Bretonnians. Hope you enjoyed it.